Hello, good morning. My name is Madhigita Nanda Pramudia Chandrawardhani and you can call me Gita. So, in today's presentation, I'd like to present about article summary and it is Change in Teacher Candidates Metaphorical Image about Classroom Management in a Social Constructivist Learning Environment written by Hanafi Akar and Ali Yildirim, 2009. And then in today's presentation, I'd like to cover 6 points. The first is about metaphor. The second is about metaphors function in learning. The third is about metaphorical image relating to classroom management. The fourth is about the case classroom management course or CMC. The fifth is about data collection and data analysis from this article. And then the sixth is about research result related to metaphors of classroom management. And the last is about conclusion. So, let's move to the first topic. It is about metaphor. What is metaphor? So, according to Merriam-Webster 2021, metaphor is a figure of speech in which a word or phrase literally denoting one kind of object or idea is used in place of another to suggest a likeness or analogy between them. So, in other words, something is a metaphorical when we use it to stand for or symbolize another thing. And then uh, we could say metaphorical is synonym by metaphor. So, next, it is about topic number 2 about metaphors function in learning. Metaphor, and the title is Metaphor in Education. According to Wallace 2001, metaphor can be used to illuminate social, institutional, and personal structure, and they are used in education for a variety of goals. And then, according to Elmholtz, 2003, metaphors or metaphorical image can be utilized as core comparison statement in educational setting to demonstrate how cognitive learning and social involvement can be complementary. Also, Carroll and Mark, 1999, also said that the major objective of metaphors in education is to encourage active learner initiated thinking process with comprehending the implication of this metaphor serving as the primary learning process. So, Carroll and Mark also said that a social constructivist approach to teaching and learning emphasized the use of language as a social and cultural tool to enhance and expand of learners' cognitive development. And then individuals can use language to give meaning to what they see visually, which can either increase or improve their impression of what they see. So, next. The next is about the third point, metaphorical image relating to classroom management. According to Akar, 2007, classroom management is one of the most continuous issues in teacher education. In an interesting way, so Marshall, 1990, said that schools have been described too as factory-like workplace, implying that classroom management is all about creating tightly controlled environments controlled by unbreakable rules. So, and then Benz Peters, Manderson, and Krohn 2003 said that teachers' metaphorical images were found to be context because it emphasizes giveness, harmony, and togetherness, as well as presenting teachers with a leadership image. The conductor metaphor was picked by the majority of teachers with high achieving children. So, Randolph and Everson, 1994, said that classroom experiences are influence the thinking process by providing frameworks for what is possible in this situation, which is congruent with the findings of the study. Because they strive to integrate image of learning with image of classroom management, the author suggests that the work-oriented classroom and the learning-oriented classroom are handled differently. Alright, next. And Saban 2004 said that moreover 60% of primary school teacher applicants see their role as imparting knowledge or changing students' thought and behaviors, while the rest regard ideal instructor as amusing students while educating and guiding them through the learning process. And then according to Edwards 2007, constructivism has been used in teacher education. The advantage of this method in improving students' perception of teacher education related topics such as classroom management has yet to be proved. The goal of this research is to explore if using a constructivist approach to classroom management may change student perception about classroom management. Next, the fourth point, it is about the case, Classroom Management Course or CMC. Alright. So, in this study, constructivist curriculum was used in a classroom management course or CMC to see how the instructional process affects students' conceptual changes. So, CMC is based on a social constructivist learning approach in which prior knowledge and experiences are integrated with new concepts and principles of classroom management through dialogue, collaboration, research, peer teaching, evaluation, authenticity, and problem solving approach as described by Tenenbaum et al. 2001. So, this is according to Tenenbaum et al. 2001. CMC is based on a social constructivist learning approach in which prior knowledge and experiences are integrated with new concept and principle of classroom management through dialogue, collaboration, research, peer teaching, peer evaluation, authenticity, and a problem-solving approach. Next. The next is about the practice of CMC. It is include watching movies on classroom management challenges, solving problem-based scenarios, role-playing and simulation, reflective writing tasks, debates based on theories or research article read, and peer teaching and peer evaluation tasks for group work activities. And then The theoretical hours were made up of recitations, talks, small group discussion, and reflection based on the literature and research on classroom management as well as the teacher candidate's personal experience. Despite the fact that an educational plan was created as a template worksheet, activities and assignments were used flexibly or new ones were added during implementation based on the needs and interests of teacher candidates as well as the constructivist learning environment. Next. Next topic is about data collection and data analysis from this article. Yeah, there is data collection. So a metaphor form was used to collect data both before and after the social constructivist deployment as a reflective activity. In terms of implementation, the following questions were asked of the teacher candidates to determine their conceptual knowledge of classroom management, like what metaphors or picture come to mind when you think of classroom management, or when it comes to classroom management, what makes you think of that metaphor, and then the purpose of this topic was to learn about the teacher candidates' previous metaphorical pictures of classroom management in order to analyze and compare whether conceptual change occurred in learning environment. So, next is data analysis. So, the further understand how students depicted classroom management, their pre and post metaphorical image were classified and recognized, categorized. I'm sorry, I mean categorized. This technique aided the researcher in deciphering the metaphors, terms, and description, as well as seeing whether there was any conceptual change between early and final representation of classroom management. So, after all data was examined and validated with a field professor specialized in curriculum and instruction, the author evaluated participants' description of metaphor based on available literature on metaphors of classroom management, and the classification pattern were provided. Yeah. And then following the confirmation of all five categories, all metaphor depicting a similar image were grouped together and named as controlling and leadership, caring, diversity, goal-oriented aspects, and chaotic and unpredictable contexts. These categories were listed in tables and double-checked by a second researcher. Finally, the metaphorical images were described and contrasted to see if conceptual change was evident. So, when describing the result, it is critical to underline that the interpretation of these metaphors came from students' explanation rather than researcher opinion. Yeah, the next topic. It is about research result related to metaphors of classroom management. Most teacher application, according to findings, see classroom management as an entering activity that symbolizes a controlling, ruling, and empowered image of classroom management. So, following the implementation, however, the majority of teacher candidates reported employing the same metaphors but transforming their description into images that illustrate unique distinction and the application of leadership characteristics to increase collaboration and success. So, I'm sorry. In other words, control-oriented images were repurposed as learning-oriented image. It's important to keep in mind that although having complete control over their choices, participants often constructed their opinion around the same metaphors but gave various interpretations to them. So, let's move to the first topic. Yeah, the first is about image of leadership and control. To communicate a control-oriented vision of classroom management, metaphors like coach and orchestra director were used in the implementation. So, teachers have been characterized as manipulators who exert power and influence over their students. A team coach, for example, has all the knowledge and authority needed to command and lead his or her teammates to victory. So the orchestra conductor is in charge of bringing the group together in harmony and accuracy, but there is no interaction between the players. Rules are strictly enforced to keep the peace, and players or learners must follow them. As a result, harmony, obedience, and discipline are essential for success. Classroom management is described by a disciplinary instructor. And then, on the other, by the end of the project, the same metaphor had been linked to a variety interpretation. In, con- in contrast to earlier description, the coach or conductor is considered as a leader who is aware of individual characteristics and requirements and who strengthens a single goal through successful collaborative effort. So, I'm sorry. So, for students, the teacher acts as motivator and facilitator. She or he encourages teamwork among all members in order to reach the group goals. The roles of the players are evenly distributed and everyone is considered an active learner. Student need interest and abilities must be priorities in order to be successful. Yeah. Next is image of care. Image of caring such as mothering plus window and peace were included in the second set of metaphors. The teacher is regarded as a strong mother who understands what is best for the child. The teacher appears to take full responsibility for the safety and well-being of the students, given that students are likely to be the center of attention. The instructor is exclusively responsible for ensuring that a peaceful environment is created free of any interruption or threats. So, in the classroom, calmness or serenity appears to take priority over the learning process. So, those control-based peaceful environments, on the other hand, have been transformed into images that represent variation and diversity for classroom learning following the adoption. So, as a result, While order does not constitute silence, it does imply active learning, joyful learning, enhanced student-teacher engagement, and respect for all kinds of differences, all of which have become sine qua non of the caring image following their implementation. So, the term caring also refers to a favorable attitude towards students and the classroom, and teacher candidates keep this approach. Yeah. Next is image of diversity. The metaphors that follow are about image of diversity, image with attributes like goodness and badness, as well as organized and disorganized, surrounding were used in these metaphors. As an expert, the instructor can tell the difference between good and bad, and then on the other side, after after the implementations, the same metaphors that portray characteristic of diversity are reused, but with different meanings. The image depict learning contexts in which the teacher must deal with classroom variation and diversity. Image of diversity rather than identifying traits of badness or goodness represent differences or diversity in student needs, attribute, and skill. The teacher is described as someone who recognizes these differences and takes action to address them, such as using varied instructional styles to match the requirements of different students. That's all. Next is about image of chaotic and unpredictable context. Teacher candidates were said to regard classroom as disturbing situation with a lot of disruption. The importance of establishing order is generally recognized, and then such metaphorical representation may be related to student instructor previous experiences with overcrowded classes and their attitudes about getting pupils to sit quietly. This showed that student instructor emphasized control over learning in their early metaphors. And on the other side, after the implementations, unpredictable situation in the classroom take on new conceptual relevance. Teacher candidates handle chaos by first understanding the causes of disruption and then overcoming them by making the required preparations. This image, I'm sorry, This image suggests that teacher candidates have developed an understanding of different classroom scenarios as well as the difficulties that can arise when dealing with student expectation and choices. Next. Next is about image of goal-orientedness. Apart from the metaphorical image stated above, there is a set of metaphors that represent image of goal-orientedness before and after the implementation of the social constructivist curriculum. So, bridge, catalyst, and chain, among other metaphorical imagery, were employed. The understanding of classroom management pedagogy by the teacher is employed as a method or catalyst. The description implied that if a teacher is well equipped with the essential skills, he or she will be able to deal with unexpected situations like this with ease. Yeah, so the ability to manage a classroom pedagogy is a method of organization that brings together these diverse areas of education to attain a specific goal. And then on the other side, change chain is a symbol for how abilities and procedures are brought together to reach a common purpose. As a result, having classroom management skill enhances student learning and facilitates the teacher instructional process. So, yeah, now we're gonna talk about conclusion, and then I will present a lot of point. Okay, the first is, according to findings, the majority of teacher candidates had a typical teacher-centered perspective of classroom management before being exposed to a constructivist curriculum implementation. Next point is, according to McLaughlin 1994, Randolph and Everson 1994, and Weinstein et al. 1994, that is, in the constructivist learning environment, control-based or disciplinary image of classroom management were transformed into more learner-oriented descriptions, emphasizing teachers' leadership qualities, knowledge, and awareness or different learning style, as well as individual differences and needs. So, and then the results suggest that the learning environment can have an impact on teacher candidates' conceptual understanding of classroom management. So, this discovery could serve a lot of purpose. The first is, the instructor can look into teacher candidates' view toward classroom management and how to learning environment in which they are put can impact their conceptual understanding. The second, through social interaction and individual internationalization, metaphors can be an excellent method for supporting teacher candidates in developing new understanding of classroom management. And the last is, in teacher education, constructivist teaching and learning environment are becoming commonplace. Understanding the conceptual changes that teacher candidates experience in such contexts can assist them in bringing metaphors and constructivist techniques into their teacher education program. Yeah, so that's all what I have to say. Thank you very much for the intention. Thank you. Have a nice day.